talking about our got it. We're gonna spend most of the time today talking about our Foundations of Aloha program. And so thank you again for your interest. And I just wanted to do a brief introduction to the framework upon which we base this program. So you may be familiar with this poster, which is a representation of the teachings of Auntie Pilahi Paki that has been created by two of her students, Pono Shim and Ramsey Tom. We've been so blessed in our professional and personal lives to work with both of these amazing gentlemen. And Uncle Pono Shim is really a mentor to us and has helped us to create this program based on his Higher Skills Academy cohorts that he teaches, also known as the Aloha Response. And that is part of his genealogy as a descendant of Auntie Pilahi and a direct recipient of her teachings in his lifetime. And so we're just introducing this framework of aloha that is popularized in posters and cards and things that are shared widely. E akahai el lokahi o olu olu h ha'aha'a and e ahonui. And so this is a framework that we know very well. Or that a lot of us here in Hawaii are familiar with. Uncle Pono's teachings actually are through a different layer and level of access to Auntie Pilahi. And so when you join our Foundations of Aloha program, we also get to know that which was shared with him through Auntie Pilahi, which is a little bit different, a little deeper, maybe a little bit more of the practice that she transmitted to him. And so, but we'll go ahead and just kind of give you a glimpse at some of our participants. So what does it look like to be a member of Foundations of Aloha? We are a cohort-based program. We meet twice a day, actually, 7 a.m. for about 20 minutes, 4 p.m. for about 20 minutes, and we talk about a daily aloha value. And so our participants are everyone from children to retirees, teachers, principals, social workers, really homemakers, like anybody who is interested in joining. And we just discuss our aloha practice through thick and thin, through hard and easy, through joyous and very difficult times. And the next slide is a little bit about kind of our distribution. So before we dive into Foundations of Aloha in terms of what it is, I just wanted to share and bring into the space our cohort members. So far since our first cohort was launched in May of 2020, and now we are in cohort 11, sorry, we're in cohort 11. But we have had 10 cohorts. This map was created at the beginning of our 10th cohort. So May 2020 to June 2021, we had about 1,000 registrations to participate in the cohort, mostly from Hawaii. And then I kind of cut off those that were in other parts of the world because I really wanted to focus on the Hawaii participants for this map. We have about 50 per cohort that come in regularly, like in our daily practice and definitely in our Sunday night practice with Uncle Pono. We meet with him for about an hour, no matter where he is in the world. He tries to join us on that day. And then our participants are ages newborn. Hayden is probably the youngest of our cohort members. He came in from maybe 4 days after he was born. But we've had others that we've seen grown up in the space. Like they came in as 8-month-old and they're now, a year and a half. And it's been so beautiful to see that. And then we have, again, like grandparents and families that all join together. So from 8 months to 80 years old is what we say our cohorts are. And then just in terms of, we actually have had cohort members that came to us from last Ohana engagement, which was really, really cool. They joined us, learned a little bit about Foundations of Aloha, and now have been with us over almost a year of the journey, including having their own cohorts at their own schools of Foundation of Aloha, having Uncle Pono come in and myself and help them kind of start their own specialized programs for their own teachers and staff. And so we've had, at this point, about 200 educators from 115 schools or organizations, not just schools, places like Boys and Girls Club or Leleokalani Trust that are youth-serving organizations also are accounted for in that. And so you can see kind of our distribution, our big family, and that people are encouraged to join at any cohort anytime once they finish their first cohort. So we've had some that have logged in every day since May 2020 to be with us and have not missed a day. And we have others that have come cohort 1, 2, skip cohort 3, 4, come back cohort 5, skip again and come back cohort 11, just whatever fits for you. And so we welcome everyone in that way. And then I wanted to share a little bit about what Foundations of Aloha is in terms of the practice. So we focus on building your home and yourself as a center for healing and learning, really understanding who you are as a panana, as the anchor for your compass through life and through family and through all parts of our living and breathing in our community. We have a daily practice that's linked to one of the 5 values every day. So like Monday, we practice akahai really deeply, Tuesday, lokahi, Wednesday, olu olu, Thursday, ha'aha, and Friday, ahunui. And today we're going to give you a little bit of an overview on some of those. We practice at 4 levels. So we start with the hardest, which is aloha for yourself. That tends to be the most difficult thing for people to engage in. We spend a lot of time sending aloha to others and definitely praying and pule for aloha for the world, but aloha for the self is so, so hard. And so we start with that one because we know that it's the most difficult, but it's also the foundation for building your aloha for everyone else. And we have morning and afternoon circles. We do meditations. We have creativity challenges over Padlet and other apps. We do outdoor exploration. So we encourage people to go outside and study the wind and the moon and the sun and the rains and tell us about their adventures. And we create an observation spot. We really encourage everyone to pick one spot where day or night you have the most view of the sky and the world around you. And we help you build a star compass, a sundial, and a place to study cloud and wind movement through that area to really anchor yourself. And then on Sundays, we have a focused kind of teaching with Uncle Pono Shim. And so that's our program, 5 weeks, 6 evenings with Uncle Pono and 5 weeks of practice together. And then the next, just briefly, this is a little sampling of what our program is. Every day, a mahina mana'o based on Tom Pena and Homai Kapono's kind of guidance, as well as Auntie Kale no Huiwa. And then we have creativity challenges. We have usually yoga or some other kind of movement challenge. And then we incorporate activities from partners like Project Wayfinder, which is a internationally at this point known belonging and identity program. Superpower Academy, which is a STEM, SEL, kit-based program for kids that's actually founded in Hawaii. So we're really trying to promote our local developers. And we work in partnership with the Office of Hawaiian Education as well to do teacher trainings and to distribute resources for Hawaiian focused education, as well as Office of Economic Development, which is what Uncle Pono is the CEO of. And so that's kind of an overview to our program. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hand it over to Hishang to give us a deeper dive into what a day in Foundations of Aloha might look like.
Mahalo, Miki. And then just quickly, this bottom portion here, we are a kit-based program. So we send material to everybody's homes so that although we are in the Zoom space as we go throughout our 5 weeks in practice together, there are activities that bring about some of our partners the space. And so to dive in, we're gonna share a little bit about one particular value and focus. And today we're gonna look into ha'aha'a. So to go to the teachings of Anakalapono through Antipilahi, most of us have learned that ha'aha'a means humility, and Antipilahi Paki translates ha'aha'a as to go empty, to be empty. So in ha'aha'a, the practice is listening. To listen so deeply, we can hear what is being said beneath the words. So our questions in focus for our session today and beyond is, do we know how to truly listen? And how might we listen to the earth as she speaks to us? And what messages do you hear from the wind, the rain, the plants? And can you hear your ancestry under the surface? So like Miki mentioned, some of our sessions have videos, others have meditations and whatnot. And for our time together today, In Ha'aha'a, we have a short meditation. So however you are comfortable, if you need to turn off your screens, please feel free. If you would like to keep it on and be in practice with us, please also feel free. We just want to make sure that you're in a comfortable space in order for this meditation practice. So we'll, Miki, I think I can because Hayden is calm at this state. So I'll get started and then we maybe tag team if Hayden gets a little bit fussy. But for everybody, come to a comfortable position with your feet touching the ground or floor beneath you. And if you are able to, gently close your eyes. Also, if you're comfortable, gently close your eyes and take a deep breath in and slowly let it all out. Our island Earth is a magical and magnificent place. You can see how grass, flowers, and trees grow from the earth, how water flows through it and connects us, how the sun and the moon dance with one another as they join and then go their separate ways, giving each other attention and then space, how the winds practice being gentle and strong, and how each of the stars share their time at night. The ground beneath your feet supports you. It is the ground on which you walk, on which our houses and schools and workplaces rest, the plane where most of us spends most of our time. And I'm going to hand it over to Miki.
Got it. Thank you, Hayden. No matter how crazy life gets, how dizzy you may feel at times, or how you may seem to have too many feelings in one moment, you can use the ground beneath your feet to bring your body and emotions back to balance. You can put both feet on the ground and choose to be stable again. Remind yourself that you're a part of a world that is beautiful, one that supports you no matter what. Empty yourself of the messages and thoughts that cause you to lose your balance, and let the grounding messages of nature and the planet in. Take time to notice all the messages around you, to hear what is being said, and to feel what is being not said. Ground yourself. Take another deep breath in and exhale slowly and fully. And when you are ready, if your eyes were closed, you may open your eyes.
Mahalo everybody for being in this practice with us. So that was our stay grounded meditation that Hayden had a lot to say about as we're going. And as we continue to think about the practice and the value in Ha'aha'a, we're bringing into our space Miki Ala Pescaya, our awesome friend, mentor, teacher. So we're gonna watch this video together and then think about how we can truly start to listen to all the things that are said and also all the things that are not said into this space.
My family is from Molokai for many generations. My father was born in Ho'olehua. His mother was born in Pelekunu, which is my strongest mo'okuauhau here, and it's kind of the connection I have to the north coastline of Molokai. I was raised by my tutu, Harriet Ahionane, who is a well-known historian and storyteller from Molokai. And growing up at her feet, I was privileged to capture all of these mo'olelo and hula and mele that she shared with anyone really who was willing to listen. But being at her feet, I got to hear them over and over and over again. So I decided to come and be a part of the National Park Service here at Kalaupapa National Historical Park to take on that kuleana of storyteller. historian, educator, and share the mana of this place with anyone willing to hear it. Traditionally, one of our favorite kino lau for our Aumakua is Makani, is wind. And today we were just surrounded by so many kupuna dancing all day long. The Makani has so many names. And so we started off looking at the cliff face where today the existing trail is, and that the cliffs of Pane'ene'e, and the Ululahau Lala Ohi'a wind that snaps the branches of Ohi'a as it makes its way up the cliff. We went to the crater where we talked about Pele and her travels from Kahiki, coming across the Pai'aina, coming through this area, digging with her stick and building up the fires of Pu'uwau and creating Kahuhako crater, and how Namaka'okahai extinguished her fires and forced her to continue on to Maui. So she didn't linger on Molokai very long, but the evidence of her presence is still here. It's what created Kalaupapa. And when you're standing up there, there's this wind that brushes up against you, and it's called the ahukapalili, because it makes your clothes flutter and you can feel that makani over there. And we continued down to the coastline where we went to the edge of Kalawao and looking at the Ko'olau coast, and the kui ala lipoa, it's the wind that brings up the smell of lipoa, came wafting across. There's so many wind names, very few rain names. So our connection for wind is very prominent. Haiha'iku, the giant who is responsible for Pu'uwala topside and teaching the people of Ho'olehua the lesson of sharing, and how you are not responsible for the resources. No matter if you planted the tree, you don't make it fruit. And so what we have as far as resource food goes, it's to be shared. What comes of this Aina Momona is for all the lahui. And so we were able to visit at the top of Waihanau. You could see where Haiha'iku made his home and where he scooped the headwaters from Waihanau and can carry that water down to Ho'olehua to water the uala that he helped plant. And today the reservoir at the base of Pu'uwala continues to do that. And so we have this kupua who had a prominence in ancient times. His kuleana has now contemporary context. He's still making sure that water is in that pipeline and making sure that water gets into the reservoir and is still irrigating all that sweet potato fields. That is Ha'iha'iku, still taking care of us today. So when we talk about akua or kupua and all these mo'olelo, they're not like detached from us. They're so relevant to us right here and now. We were out on the Kalawao coastline looking out towards Pelekunu, where my family is from. And I shared the story of my tutu coming from Pelekunu, paddling to Mokapu Island, ascending to the top and plucking lolu palm leaves and hand gliding from Mokapu Island back to Kalawao coastline. Of course, if you spend hundreds of years studying birds and watching them fly over you every single day, you would learn a thing or two about aerodynamics, and that's not far-fetched to realize that our kupuna would incorporate that technology to make life easier for them. They did it so many times. We have solar-powered clothes dryers because they realized if you arrange stones in a particular way, you can actually capture the heat of the sun and reflect it back in and create a convection current. Why is that so hard to understand? Or triangulation, they would use these ko'a along the coastline and up on the pali, and if you aligned yourself with all of these markers, they would triangulate and locate where the fishing hole was or where the water spring is. Or GPS, like, yeah, we invented GPS, you know, like that the concept of it anyway existed for hundreds of years. Like our kupuna already had that down. And so today with technology, we've taken out all of these abilities we innately had, whether it's using our bodies as thermometers and barometers and compasses. And now we put all that into tools, right? And we've taken it out of ourselves. And I love when I have the chance to share mo'olelo that starts to pull those abilities back into our kino and into our consciousness, that we are our kupuna.
So, I mean, there's so much to unpack. We could just have Mikiala's video and then unpack all the portions for the entire session and beyond. But as we kind of hone in on a part for just our time today, thinking about that kind of connection, the innate abilities that because we have externalized it, right, put it on the outside, that it became something that we lose because we don't use it. And then because I have this little Hayden and he's been teaching me so much, I feel like our little ones have that innate ability and they're born with it. It's just, once again, because our society doesn't value it as it was before, I think growing and being shaped by the society that we live in, kind of lose that ability. So to hone that back in, we're gonna do an activity to get to start to dial in our abilities. So we're going to focus specifically on the wind. And before we head into that activity, I just want to see if Miki has any mana'o to share regarding Mikiala's video.
Yeah, I mean, I just briefly, when I think about, I mean, I love Mikiala's video, and I love, like, the first time I ever met her years ago sailing, like, she is that all the time. That's her full self, and she's in constant communication with Kupuna, seen and unseen, heard and under, like, she's just always there and present. And what I love is, I think about Auntie Kale Nuuhiwa. I don't think is in the room, but if she is, hello. One of the gems I picked up from her in one of her conversations was that Kupuna are speaking to us all the time, like all the time. And we just kind of have to rediscover how to understand what they're saying. For those, some of us are very close to it and still able to hear every day. And others, we're on the beginning of a long journey towards rediscovering that language and that fluency. So I just bring that up as I mahalo Mikiala so much for that. Thanks, Jung.
Yeah, mahalo. And with that, I think our focus and overemphasis on the spoken language, I think to some degree also dialed back our other abilities that can't quite be articulated, just felt. So as we think about that and what Mikiala's message was about, we're gonna hone in and focus on just one element. So can you feel the wind in your area? And we're gonna think about where is it coming from and where does it go? And if you are in a spot where it's easy for you to kind of jump outside really quick to feel, please feel free. Also, if you are not in a place where that is a thing that we can do quickly, just taking a little bit of time to look outside the window to see in which direction the winds might be blowing, and also kind of sensing what the strength of that wind might be in our space today. So we'll pause for maybe a minute so that we can actually get to, yes, we can get to feel, and then we'll come back into our space and we'll share a few resources. So we'll take 1 minute. So if you are able to kind of open your windows to feel, or maybe walk out the door to feel, and we'll be right back in this space at 1:26. And also in that 1 minute of pause and checking in, if you need to grab some water or maybe use the restroom really quick, please do feel free to take care of whatever your needs might be in this space. And then we'll come back. And we're going to share a few resources that we have. Like Mikiela mentioned, we now kind of rely on some of the tools. So as we kind of bring that ability back in, we wanted to share some tools that we can kind of check against to build our confidence back, that our senses, what we are feeling is actually what it is. So we have two links here. And one is Null School and the other one is Windy. And it kind of shares live data. And also I love this one as like a visual meditation, because it's such a beautiful image of the current winds. And you can zoom in on your location and it'll populate and refresh. So please feel free to use those resources that we have. And then the other part in Ha'aha'a is to think about the names that were given to the winds in our specific locations. So not just general terms, but more specifically, depending on your region, what types of wind exist, what are the names of those winds, and then digging deeper into like, what does that mean to you? Like, how do you relate to those names? What does it mean to you? What are some other interpretations of the names? And can you recognize the differences in the strengths, in the types that you get to be in? So we have two links here. So the wind names in your area, that's our first link. And then we have a second link, Makani or Ka Mokupuni, that has more detailed names depending on the island. So we encourage you as you continue on this journey, just recognizing each of us are at a different place. Some of us might know a lot more than others, but wherever we are at, as we continue onward, just checking in with the resources that are there and also adding your own resources. Some may not be written, and also recognizing that some stories are not meant to be written. So wherever that space might be that you're allowed and have the permission to share, sharing those so that other people can connect to it as well. So that's our kind of focus on different resources and our connections and growing our practice in Ha'aha'a through these names and what you feel in your space. And then I'm gonna hand it over to Miki for this next part.
Thank you. And just as Hejang shared, we're all at different parts in our practice, and in the deep practice of Ha'aha'a, you know, the kind of first meaning of humility, we totally recognize that we are really beginning in this journey of understanding and being able to speak the language of the things that are around us. And so as part of that, again, we study with Uncle Pono Shim. And one of the things that Uncle Pono really kind of emphasizes amongst other kupuna and other kumu, that every word is an action, right? It's not a static, it's not a feeling, it's really an intention, and it flows, the energy flows through each word and each sound. And so if every concept and principle is active, then we are really internalizing and connecting to a universe through every single thing that we say, every breath that we take. And in this case, we look to the word kilo, and my winds are coming through right now. We look through the word kilo through our friend Tom Penna at Homai Kapono and his teacher, Glenn Kila of Wai'anai. As you know, kilo, according to Tom and the practice that he is raised in right now, that in the modern sense, or right now as a science teacher, what I kind of learned as kilo 10 years ago or 20 years ago is not quite as deep a practice as we would want. So initially, like I think we were taught in this space that kilo means to observe or to study the natural world. And as we dive deeper into the practice and really think about what the intention is behind the word, we understand that kilo is the experience of the life that is in something, not just to look at it. And so building that relationship between the natural world, between people, between your family, and with yourself, those are all part of kilo. It's in the best way that I can explain it at this point, like 2 years into the practice with Uncle Pono and with Tom, is that kilo, to me, in my interpretation, is connecting the universe inside of you, all the generations that have come before you, that are part of your braid of existence. You are connecting all of those universe inside of you with the universe outside of you. And so that, I think, is that understanding in kilo is how might we build our relationship with everything around you. And so that I think is just the very beginning of the practice. And in that, we have our kind of like mahina mana'o, which is our way of thinking about our aloha practice, which today is Friday. And so for us, we think about aloha and ahonui on this day, and ha'aha and ahonui are very intimately connected in ha. And so there's that thinking around it, and also our moon phases or our mahina phases. So today, mahina rises mohalu at 4:51, and given different people's moon calendars are slightly different by a moon phase or two. And so it's really, it's up to each individual to build that relationship. To me, the easiest thing to do is when a calendar says that it's muku, if you go outside and you see a moon, then it's not muku. And so just thinking about like, how do we calibrate? But today is mohalu at 4:51, and mahina sets hua at 4:14. And so today and through the weekend, mahina will grow from mohalu to hua, and then into her piha or full moons. And she's also moving a little closer to us. And so she'll command more and more of our attention. She's getting bigger and bigger, right? So in that sense, her energy is moving closer to us. The lessons, the energy, the experiences, our relationships with people and places need to be handled with greater care, because everything has that activation energy in it. She also captivates our attention, and we may experience more intimate communication beyond words, communication through thought and feeling. So just leaving ourselves open to that as our moon energy grows. I like to think of it as like we have full daytime light as well as full nighttime light at this point. So it's like 100% illumination, everything out for us to look at. So mahina shapes the atmosphere around us, whether we kilo or not. Emotions may be felt more intensely. Our dream spaces might be more awakened. We may not be able to sleep as well. And we may need to manage the additional energy in some way. For some of us, that might mean more exercise. For some, it might actually mean more socialization, like just go talk story with more people and hang out. For others, it's more alone time, right? Whatever we need is individual to us to kind of balance out our energy. So everyone finds a different set of instructions inside themselves as we pause in ahonui and withhold our immediate reaction to better trace the intentions that will inspire our actions. And so that's sort of our kilo mahina practice today. And I'll hand it back over to Jung to talk about our friends from Imiloa and the resource that we use from them, our mahina dial.
And it's nap time for this little one. We wanted to share resources to dial in our ability to connect with mahina. So the moon phase dial is from Imiloa and has the names for the moon phases. And once you print out, it becomes a dial where you can see and select which phase you are currently seeing. So just checking in, right? Regardless of what it says, whichever source you look at to see what phase it is said to be in. Also checking in with ourselves and seeing like, what is it that we see and feel.
I got it. That's fine. I feel like it's like Hayden's like, Auntie, you got to do this. Okay. So the next part, say we co-teach And one of the blessings of us being able to have our own nonprofit is that we get to raise Hayden in our classroom, our virtual classroom right now. We're so blessed to see him and hear him every day in his rhythms. So the other link that we wanted to share with you is an app called Stellarium, which you may be familiar with. We love Stellarium to help us look at things very far away from ourselves. If you click on the link for Stellarium, this actually provides you a link to the web version. The web version is really cool. It has a lot of features in it, and including a layer to look at star lore, which is, there is a Polynesian star line menu that's available there that was co-created by students at Kamehameha schools in their Kilo class like Papa Kilo, like years ago, in partnership with a developer. And so we love that. And we worked with them when Hejang and I were with Hokulea and Polynesian Voyaging Society prior to us having our own nonprofit. But if you look at if you download the mobile version, then it's, you can use it it's an augmented reality. So you look at the night sky and it shows you the stars that are right in front of you with the names on it. So if you're new to the practice, then you can use the phone version to actually look through the camera at the sky, and it'll show you where you're, what you're looking at. And we love that as part of like beginning training. I also like it because many of us are either, have a lot of different ancestral lines in us. And the star lore, you can flip through different cultures and regions of the world and their names for their constellations and the stories behind them. And so looking at the same constellation can reveal to you many, many different stories, which I really, really love. The other thing that I would suggest, if you are able to in Stellarium, is to dial the sky. You can actually set the date and time and location in Stellarium. And one of the things that my friend Tom Penna shared is to focus Stellarium on the time that you were born, and to really say hello to the kupuna that greeted you in the sky when you came from the region of the womb to the region of air, from Po to Ao. And so this was the family that greeted you into the world. And so Stellarium can help you sort of locate what moon phase it was and what position the stars were in on the moment of your birth, if you know it. And so I love that Stellarium was able to help me think that through. I think much like Nainoa in his studying at the planetarium with Uncle Will Kaselka, and how the planetarium really helped him to connect with just the beginning of his journey, which after that became driven by kupuna, absolutely. But in the beginning, he needed that app to help him really think through what he was seeing in the sky and to begin his review of that knowledge. So that's our Stellarium and Mahina dial, and we put all of those in the link. In the chat, sorry. And I think we just wanted to give sort of one last invitation for you to join us in our next Foundations of Aloha cohort. For those of you that are interested, our cohort starts on November 7th. That's cohort 12, and you can register at that link there. And we are really, really excited. This one, we made this past cohort, sometimes the registration skews a little bit depending on who's presenting. So this one, we happen to, in cohort 11, we have a lot of doctors because there was a presentation made to doctors through Queens. And so now there's a few doctors that are joining our cohort. And then the next one will probably be some workers from City and County of Honolulu, as well as our friends from, from the schools and the organizations that we usually work with, and families. And so yeah, we're really, really just excited to hear you have any questions for us and to share with you. Oh, and one more thing, when you access the slide deck that Hejang just put in, we do have one more activity that we added in there that we're not going to go through. We just thought, oh, if we have more time, but please go ahead and do the activity. We create pinwheels. And so they're made with just paper. You can cut it yourself. We use a pencil and a thumbtack. or the top of a paper clip. And so we make these pinwheels, and in it, we just fill our intentions. So it might be, where do I come from? Where do I want to go? What fuels me? What am I grateful for? And we just use this to kind of harness that wind energy, but also our intentions. And so there is a few slides on helping to make pinwheels with your family, if you choose to do that. They also double as the point for our sundials when we are like, okay, we're gonna just combine all the activities and use this as your marker for your sundial. But yeah, so that's something that we do in Foundations of Aloha as well. So we'll just maybe open it up to any questions or comments or conversation that anyone has. I think we have another 10 minutes or so. Yeah, okay. Is that okay to take questions or comments, or just open it up for a discussion at this point? Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. If anybody has anything. If not, Hejung and I are super happy to just sit and smile.
Yeah, and I just want to quickly acknowledge all the things that are populated in the chat. I love reading it. So mahalo nui for sharing. I don't yet see questions, but I see a lot of Makani related mana'o. So mahalo for putting that in. And is it Joanne? I saw that you're unmuted. Kalamai.
Hello, yes, I did unmute. I'm in Tasmania, Australia, and I went through everyone, and I just noticed my daughter, who lives on Maui, and the grandchildren go to Kamehameha at Kula, and she's on this same group too. She didn't tell me which group she'd be in, so I think that's really exciting. Yes. And I see in the sessions I've been involved with yesterday and today, I see so much interconnectedness that it really brings it home. So I'm very pleased. Thank you. I can't hear anything now.
We are here. We can hear you. Yeah, I just put in, my niece and nephew are also at KS Maui. And so that's such a beautiful connection. And yes, I'm seeing in the chat some questions. Can it be shared on your website and lessons? All we ask is, this is, we're stewarding this information for our teachers and for other teachers. And so all we ask is that you just let us know how you're using what we've created. It helps us. Sorry, my kupuna winds are like maybe protesting a little bit, not sure, or very supportive. And so not sure, we'll see how it goes. And so one of the things that we ask is just that because I think everything that we use is open source. There's nothing that should be copywritten. That which we share from Uncle Pono is also open. What he shares in the cohorts that we run with him, that are for those that are registered, those we usually ask permission, because some of it is straight from Auntie Pilahi to him and maybe not meant for full consumption by everyone. But in general, the things that we've shared in this session can be shared. And we just ask that you let us know how you're sharing it and where you're sharing it. The cohorts are all free. At this point, we've been so lucky to secure donations and funding, and we offset the costs from some of our other work. We do consultation work and professional development on like anti-racist project-based learning and decolonizing design thinking. Those are some of the other things we do in schools. But this work is really our joy and passion work. And so we do have donations and some philanthropic funders that help to support it. So it's all free. Including the kits. We do accept donations to offset the cost. The kits at this point are like almost $50 each, I think, but we just keep sending them out because they're so fun. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, and Barbie Lay, I just want to answer your question. We can meet, so we can connect. I'll put in my email address for anybody who might want to reach out. Creator.org. We are more than willing to share all of our partners and which parts we put into our kits. And then for Lani, mahalo for your question. Stellarium does cost money if you download it on your phone. However, the downloaded versions on your computer are free. It just won't have that portion where you can point to the sky to see which stars are out there. So just want to share that all the features that are even like not available on the phones are available when you download it. So they have a web version, a downloaded desktop version, and then the mobile version. So the phone version does cost, but the other two versions do not. So just wanted to share that as well.
There are other free night sky. So you could do the thing where you use the free night sky app to look and then use the Stellarium on the desktop to calibrate and look up the Polynesian star lines for it. Also suggest Polynesian Voyaging Society. I mean, I no longer work for them, no longer work for Nainoa, but I will just keep promoting that all of the resources over the many decades on those star lines and Mo'olelo behind it are all on the archives there. And so we still reference those quite a bit. And so I would definitely support you moving and looking at that stuff too. Yeah, and then the question was about like, do you have to be an educator? No, anybody can join, and we are super just welcoming of everyone. We have like ministers and doctors and just grandparents that are helping to take care of their grandchildren. We have others that are just retired teachers, but just hanging out.
Everybody is welcome to join.
Yeah, and Lorianne, yes, for teachers, so 7 o'clock is our morning session, and some of the teachers call in from the car. It's all virtual, so they call in from the car on their way into work and just have us camera off and are just driving. Others are calling in from their desk. They get to work a little bit early so they can eat breakfast while we're having our opening session. And so it's really whatever works for you. Others take us on their morning walks. And so we get to see a lot of different settings because people take us with them wherever they go at 7 o'clock. We've seen all the back roads of Kauai at 4 o'clock trying to get out of traffic, some of our teachers. And so, yeah, so we're just excited to see everyone however you can. And we encourage you to, it's also not required to come every day. We really want to see you when you can, when you feel like you need it, as opposed to like feeling like it's a burden or an additional, kind of weight on your schedule. It's meant to be joyous and a practice for us to be in together.
Can I say something else?
Of course.
I just see Dorinda is here from yesterday. Hello, Dorinda.
Aloha, Joanne. She's in Tasmania. I'm in Missouri. So can you believe that? Sharing the aloha across the globe and through the skies and on the Ka Makani.
That's why we have a wind here that comes all the way from South America, and it just keeps blowing because Africa is actually higher than what we are. So it comes right across and goes past New Zealand and then just keeps going again to South America. Oh dear.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Aloha, my name is Lei. I'm a preschool teacher for Keiki Steps under the program In Peace. It stands for Indigenous Native Pacific Educators and Cultures. Company's been around for a while. Currently, we're located all on the west side of Oahu. And I happen to be a teacher's assistant for our particular Keiki Steps program. It's from 5-year-olds to infants. So we leave it wide open, and it's family oriented. So a family member or child care provider needs to be with the children. Very awesome program. I'm fortunate to be a part of it. This is my 6th year in the program. And our particular site, we use Olelo Hawaii. So we have been teaching our keiki, our Hawaiian moon phases. Yeah, with the pa'ilima, there's a pa'ilima that we do, simplified it, yeah. We really made it simple for the kamali'i and the ohana. And given the who is the guy you mentioned? Kapono. Yeah, his chart and the short little description of what the pomahina is going to be like. And that's kind of the way we start our day. And so the ohana, they have gotten so ma'a to learning about the moon phases that they'll ask us, what is the moon phase today? Because this morning I had a terrible day and no. And they want to know. So it's been interesting, and it's something that if we can do it with 2-year-olds that can just follow along, with the pa'ilim, and they may not get all the words, but they're hearing the sounds, and following the moon phases, and what was studied back in the day, kupuna learned from back when, can still be applied to today's life. But I want to mahalo you guys for what you do, because we're kind of doing that in our own little way and with our own little baby steps. And I think it should be integrated in, around all people who have children, or being around children, have them to notice and learn some of the names and some of the things that come off of the mo'olelo, or stories that come off of the many different moon phases, like you two Manavahine have already created and started. So I think it's awesome what you do. Mahalo. Share, Sandy, share. I see one of my co-workers.
Well, since she called me out, aloha mai kako about o Sandy Honani Miyasato, noho wau mapuna, Ka Mokupuni o Hawaii. So I went to college at Kahakaula, or I'm still going there actually. And I took a class called Nohona Kaulana Mahina, which was all about the moon and its phases and how it relates to all the aspects in our life. And after that class, I was like, I learned so much things in this class that I want to use it forever. And if I don't use it, I'm going to lose it. So I actually created a Kaulana Mahina, or moon calendar, that's all Makolelo Hawaii. So on it, it has the moon phases, which are lunar cycle on the solar cycle. So yeah, it has the moon phases for each day, along with the mana'o from Kepelino about our fishing and our farming, and mana'o from David Malo about the hi'ohi'ona, or the features of the moon, and the different malama, or the lunar months. So if you guys want to check it out, the next year's calendar, which will start at the Makahiki Hole in November, should be on my website shortly. It's www.kaulanamahina.com. Thank you for my plug.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. And we're super, super excited to look and learn at that. I know there's so many different experts that are in our community that we can learn from. And so I so appreciate that. And, just thinking about like looking towards Makahiki, and now we're moving towards like Piko Wakea and all of that. It's like such a time of reflection, intention, and then setting that course forward. So what a great time for us to be making this connection. We're so excited. Oh, and I see that our team put into the chat the survey, that we have a survey we're supposed, sorry, I'm like the person that's like, okay, class, we're past the bell. Like I'm that teacher where everybody's lining up outside the door because you're like, we're way past. The next class was to start already. So sorry, team. Ulube, you drop something in the chat, yeah, around that.
I did, Miki, and so I'm just going to put it back in there again. Just a quick reminder, when you fill out the survey, when you're PAW with it, make sure that you click out of it. So that it will close again, so then we can do the survey again for our closing speaker, who is Konishiki, in 5 minutes, right, Ulu? He'll be closing us in 5 minutes.
Yes, please do the survey for this workshop. Everything that all your comments, anything you want to share with Miki and Hui Jung, please do the survey. All of that information will be given to these lovely young ladies. And mahalo to you, Sergio. Love this. We had talked about. And we mentioned it, language and communication is more than what comes from here. It's the whole body. So mahalo, Sergio. We really appreciate you being here.
Are you gonna put the QR code up so we can do the survey?
It's a link in the chat.
Okay.
Perfect. And yes, join us for our closing for today. We'll be with Konishiki. It'll be a talk story about how his experiences with Ohana, traveling the world, meeting those different winds and currents, and how that's contributed to his life journey as well. So mahalo, mahalo, ladies, and mahalo to all of you for being present.
Thank you, everyone, so much. Have a beautiful, beautiful day. Ahui ho.
Mahalo.
Whoop. She pushed it down. Mahalo. Bye, Ruth.
That's
Bye,
so
my daughter.
cute. That's sweet.
Hi, Dorinda. It's been so lovely.
Aloha, Joe. Bye-bye, everybody.
Talk again. See you.
Well, thank you, ladies, so much. I know we were close to time.
It's okay. And we know that's how it goes. That's just how it goes. I'm like you, Miki. I'd be the other kumu, like, girl, you still in class. I still going too. We're gonna be the ones behind, yeah. we'll bring up the rear.
I was always that way. And also lab school, which actually Konishi graduated from. Lab school, it doesn't have bells. So there's just no way of knowing. I mean, the kids know because they start packing up their bags and kind of like moving towards the door.
Talk about
That's
reading
just-
cues.
yeah. That's just like Akaula too. There is no bells. So you're like, we're fully engaged here. We don't need a break. Like, let's keep going.
Yeah, the kids are like backpack on, sliding out the door. So we always had such a good time. Yeah, I had actually, let's see, the other Atisa noise has a Kaula. Did you have no? Hejong, you were still in high school. I'm like, did you have Kaula Atisa noi? And she's like, no, I was in high school when you started teaching. I'm like, that's right.
I think that's Ape Lila. That's April's daughter, yeah?
Yeah.
Is that? Yeah.
Yeah. She was in my first year that I was teaching. She was in my first class.
I know, so funny. Some of my Akaula students are doing a slab under my house this week. And so I was like, hey guys, and they have kids and they're adults and they're like, hi, Mrs. Carney. And I'm like, oh, it's like, when do you transition to auntie or like something else rather than that? But yeah, it's so interesting when you see the generations of your students, like coming up. So
I had one, we were at a service day and he was like, oh, Miki. And I turned around and then he was like, no, that didn't fit. Sorry, Miss T. As he said, because he was like, Miki. Everybody was saying Miki, and he was like, Miki. And then I turned around, we started talking. He was like, no, sorry, Miss T. Doesn't feel good. I was like, it's fine. You can just keep calling me Miss T or Auntie, however long you want. Poor guy. He's like postdoc, like in his 30s.
well, thank you so much, ladies. I just have to say that Stellarium, so I always struggle with that because I had the night sky one and like we'd look at it and then I'm like, I don't even know what's the olelo for this star line. And I'm trying to go back. I'm so excited to play with this with my kids tonight because now we don't have to try and guess. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, and Eden, there's a star compass overlay that you can download as well. So you can see which house it rises in, only on the desktop version.
Yeah, but if you do the matchy, you're like,
yeah,
I know that, I see that, with this one. And I think right now it's easy because Manai Kalani is very visible, right? Like you can see Manai Kalani pretty clearly. And so it's easy to match up what's there. But yeah, it's a pretty cool one. Yeah, thanks guys. Hejong, I gotta go pick up our laser cutter from Lilio Kalani Trust. I will see you guys in a bit. Thank you so much.
Hello, ladies.
Thanks.
We'll keep in contact and review everything that
Yeah, we're excited to hear feedback.
Yeah.
Like we always want feedback to improve. And so please, anything that you have, we're very happy to hear. Oh, and Kula, wait. Is that Kula? Like Kula, do you have your baby with you? Who's probably like 8
I
years
have
old?
2 babies with me sleeping right now. Sorry, still recording, but here's one.
I'll go
Sorry,
edit it,
everyone.
girl. I'll go
Here's
edit.
2. But I wanted to be here and say mahalo to my Ba'a sisters, and it was so awesome to listen in. I was able to join from my sister, who is part of KS preschool, actually. So all this education really does work. My son knows all the moon phases. He's 2.5, and every morning we do ALOHA, and it totally works. And thank you for all of the connection and everybody sharing. It's really exciting. And congratulations to Jung. Can't wait to meet your son.
Yeah,
I'm gonna give
love
up
you,
a video.
sis.
Love you
Yes.
guys. Thank you.
We'll see you guys soon. Thank you, everybody.
Malama pono. Ahui
Malama.
ho.